Howdy folks, good morning or afternoon or whatever time it happens to be. I'm going to talk to you now about ambulance operations. So when you go into work and you get on your ambulance, the first thing that you guys are going to do every day is check out your unit. You're going to check your inventory and you're going to do a vehicle inspection. And the things you're going to be looking for are right here in this box. Is it there? Does it work? And is it going to break? Is it going to break? So these are really important. You got to make sure that your ambulance is working and that it's stocked appropriately. So what are you going to inventory? Well, you're going to inventory all of your basic supplies, anything needed for patient transfer, your airway breathing equipment, your oxygen delivery devices. So again, you're going to make sure that you have it and that you have enough of it. You'll check your bandaging and splinting supplies. Make sure you have your childbirth supplies. Make sure you have a gown, maybe some shoe covers, all that sort of stuff. Check your AED, make sure it works, make sure it's in date. Check any medications and all of their expiration dates. And check your personal safety equipment. So whatever you've been issued and whatever you have, you want to check and make sure it's still in good condition. It's a good idea when you're doing this to use some sort of check sheet. If the service has provided you with one, then use that. If not, then it's probably a good idea to make one of your own that you can use so that you're checking the same things consistently. Vehicle inspections are part of checking out your unit. So follow your agency's checklist through a careful mechanical inspection. Be sure to be careful about safety. Check the tires, check the oil, check the lights, check the sirens. And then whatever else your agency wants you to check, you should be checking. For the engine, the things that you could check, obviously check the fuel level, stay on top of that. The oil level, the coolant level, check the battery, and check the brake fluid if you know how to do that. As far as the exterior, this is actually fairly important. So walk around, be familiar with your unit, and check for any new body damage. Sometimes people aren't the most ethical and they might hit something and not report it, and you don't want to be charged with that, the damage to that vehicle. So check for new damage in the mornings. Check for any leaking fluids, so look underneath the truck, see if there's anything leaking out of it. Check the wheels and tires, make sure there's enough tread left, that they're safe. Again, check the headlights, check the stop lights, check the brake lights as well, and check the turn signals. Check the wipers, make sure you have windshield wiper fluid, and then check the horn, make sure the horn works as well. Of course, don't forget to check the emergency warning devices. The visual warning lights and the siren and the horn, all important. You need to have all three of those available to run emergency calls. So check them in the morning to make sure they work. In the interior, this is actually a big deal. The air conditioning, especially in the back of the unit, in the box part where the patient goes. You have to have air conditioning back there. You have to keep the medications at an appropriate temperature. In Texas, heating systems are occasionally useful, but not always. Air conditioning is definitely important in the summer. Check the heat in the winter. Check your ventilation system, make sure it's working. If you have a patient who doesn't smell particularly good, or if there's some sort of chemical or something, you want to check the ventilation system in the back and make sure it's working. Clean it and disinfect it. This is something I recommend you do every time you get on shift. You never know what the people who have had the truck before you have done to the back of it, what kind of patients they've had in the back, or what those patients have touched. So disinfect everything. And that includes, like, there's a grab bar on the ceiling. Make sure you disinfect that. That's a great place for bacteria to hide. Anything that gets touched on a regular basis, so handles on cabinets, bag straps. If you have a computer that's being used, disinfect that. Go into the front, disinfect the steering wheel. Disinfect the radios, both the music radio and the communication radio. Disinfect all of that. While you're disinfecting it, check it, make sure it works, make sure your radios work, your portables are charged and on the right channel, and make sure all of your equipment is secured. In the back of the truck, you don't want there to be anything that could fly out of a compartment or fly up off the ground and hit somebody and hurt them. As a student, this is actually definitely important because you'll be riding in the back of the truck. So make sure that everything is secured. You don't want a bag to come off the stretcher and hit you, or a monitor or anything like that. So make sure it's either buckled into the stretcher or secured in a cabinet. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about emergency vehicle driving. So in the state of Texas, these are the exact laws that you have to follow. when you're driving the ambulance. So the driver of an authorized emergency vehicle can park or stand irrespective of the provisions of this chapter. So basically you can park your unit anywhere as long as you have the lights on. You can proceed past a red light or stop signal, but only after slowing down as may be necessary for safe operation. So that means that you are responsible for making sure that it's safe. If you're going to proceed through a red light or a stop sign with your lights and sirens on, you are responsible for checking the intersection and make sure nobody's coming out. If there's a collision because you were going through a red light, you are still responsible for it, even if your lights and sirens on. You can exceed the maximum speed limit so long as you do not endanger life or property. So basically, if you're going too fast and cause a wreck, you're still responsible because you were endangering life or property. And you can disregard regulations governing direction of movement or turning in specified directions. So you can drive on the wrong side of the road, you can make U-turns, you can turn where turns are not otherwise permitted. But again, this is going to be as long as you do it safely. You can still be held responsible driving with lights and sirens, even if you cause a wreck. Now here's the next part of it. The exemptions herein granted to all an authorized emergency vehicle shall only apply when such vehicle is making use of audible and visual signals meeting the requirements of this act. So you have to have lights and you have to have sirens. Both are required. And this is the real kicker. The foregoing provisions shall not relieve the driver of an authorized emergency vehicle from the duty to drive with due regard for the safety of all persons. I.e., if you cause a wreck and it's your fault, it doesn't matter whether you had lights or sirens on because you did not proceed with due regard.